Maybe we'll edit this out.
We will edit this out.
Yeah, we're going to cut this out. So I think we'll probably edit that afterwards.
We'll edit that the out.
Season 2 roundup!
Yes!
We made it!
We did it. We got through series 2.
We got through season 2.
Thank you for coming with us on this incredible journey.
Thank you so much. We love you so much.
It's been wonderful.
We've had a great time. It's also quite exciting because when we did the season 1 roundup, Pete, I'm pretty sure it was winter.
God, I think it was, yeah.
And now It
is the middle of summer. It is pretty much the hottest day of the year so far, I think.
It is really hot outside, but we're so excited to be in this very warm studio together, absolutely dripping in sweat.
Yes.
But this is going to be great. So let's dive in to reflect on the season.
Yes, so we started off with Brendan talking about Brendan Girac talking about cheese making.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really cool because a lot of people got in touch and said they really loved his renegade cheese making approach.
I really he just threw caution to the wind.
Yeah.
That was his approach. If it doesn't turn out, it doesn't turn out because he didn't. It was, he's the one that's responsible for following the rules. And if he doesn't, then what can he expect?
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was something like, sometimes you got to follow the rules, and if it doesn't work, then you've got to find some new rules.
Yeah, I loved it.
I kind of liked, yeah. But yeah, he's still going. He's still making his cheese. He's still knitting. So do check him out.
Also, Brendan, I feel like we were all kindred spirits with the Brendan episode because Brendan also has like 97 million different hobbies.
Yes. So he'd taken up cheese making because he wanted something that he could just set going and it would just be running in the background while he's doing his other hobbies.
Yes.
In the same way that he took up knitting because he wanted something that he could do while he was indulging his other hobby of watching cricket. Yeah.
And Brendan, for the record, was the farthest distance guest that we've had on the podcast so far.
Yes, by quite a long shot as well.
Long shot. Out just outside of Perth, Australia. No, it's true. He was in Perth.
Was he?
Yep.
That is quite a long way. I have no sense of geography.
He was in Perth. The farthest distance person that we've had so far on
Easily,
the pod.
Yeah.
So next up,
we want
the Antarctic.
Yeah, or someone on the Mir space station. Okay, folks, this is where I repeatedly show my age. I keep referring to the Mir space station. I mean the International Space Station. The Mir space station was decommissioned over 20 years ago. If you've got any hobbies up there. Actually, funnily enough, that same episode, I talked about geocaching, my strange little treasure hunting hobby.
Great segue.
But there is also, I found out just this week, there is a geocache on the Mir space station. Yeah. Some lunatic has put one up there, which is brilliant. So so try and find that.
So then next up, we had Rob.
Yes.
We had your mate Rob Joyce.
Rob the Voice Joyce.
Rob the Voice Joyce. Talk about weightlifting. And he was hilarious. Loved interviewing him. He's just such a lovely, lovely bloke. An excellent coach, an excellent trainer, an excellent weightlifter, and also an excellent handyman. He did our loft. I also, he was the first person that we've had on the pod who had a hobby, which turned into a career, which then turned back into a hobby.
Yes, because as soon as it became a career, it killed it for him. Yeah. And so he had to find you had to find a new career so that he could have the weightlifting back as the hobby that he loved again, which was, Yeah,
the biggest takeaway that I had from that episode was he said something along the lines of like, you can't make people love what you love.
Yes.
And that not only felt so true, but also broke my little heart.
Because you want to get people involved with what you're doing, but I think it's you can't get too upset if like you're evangelizing about archery or geocaching or art forgery. Yeah. Segue. And they don't immediately think that sounds really cool. But you've just got to do what you do. Yeah.
I'm starting to feel the heat in here.
It is very, very warm. Let's keep going.
Yes, we also did talk about... I'm really sweating. We also did talk about, one of my hobbies, which was art forgery.
Art forgery, yes. Your Fargo and Fargates.
My Fargo and Fargates, which are still, they're thriving. They're on my wall.
Excellent. They are lovely.
And I haven't been reported to any officials. Yeah. So thank you to our audience for keeping my anonymity.
Yeah.
Great.
It was really, really cool. I loved it. Some nice clandestine activity. And then we had Chloe Dall'Olio talking about ecstatic dance.
Yes, that was so fun. There was so much fun energy in that episode.
Oh my lord, I did have to have a lie down afterwards because it was just it was such a high energy episode. And you still really want to do it, don't you?
Yeah, no, I do.
She is one of those sort of infectious sort of people that just makes you want to play and have fun and do that with your arms when you're too warm to.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. We also actually heard we had quite a few of our listeners message us in saying, oh my God, I've tried ecstatic dance ages ago. This was just what I needed to get back into it. So that was really cool. I didn't know that many people were into ecstatic dance and 5 rhythms.
I didn't either, because I hadn't heard of it till Chloe. But
well, that's on you.
It is on me. But that same episode, you also talked about one of your other hobbies, which was swimming.
It's true. And I actually saw Chloe swimming last week.
Well, what, you saw her swimming?
We bumped into each other.
All right. You weren't just look out the window. There she was, scuttle on the Thames.
Yeah, that'd be cool. No, nice, but yes, swimming is going really well. I've done some swim coaching. I actually have started doing open water swimming, which is where I saw Chloe.
I would like to do that. That's cool,
different technique required, and also much colder. But it's really cool. It's got a really cool energy where I've been open water swimming.
Nice.
And I've done it a few times now. I was just open water swimming in Vienna yesterday.
Oh, I was just open water swimming in Vienna, darling.
But yes.
Listen to this.
That is ecstatic dance.
Excellent.
And swimming.
Lovely. I'm glad that you're still doing it.
So next we had Nuri Foster. And her hobby of storytelling.
Now, this was the one which, if you remember, I was so excited about. Yep. I was really, really hyped about this hobby. It was the one that I most wanted to try, and I am starting to work on something that is working into something else that is sort of storytelling adjacent, which is very, very cool. Yeah. And also, I was very, very lucky because Nuri is currently in Edinburgh. At time of recording, she be just coming to the end of her last show in Edinburgh, the
Edinburgh Fringe.
Yes, and she's had a great run with it. It is a really, really cool show, and I was very lucky enough to do some of the sound editing for her on it. So it was very, very nice, and I look forward to seeing what she's going to do with it next.
I know, and what's so cool, so when we recorded that episode, it was before Nuri had gone to Adelaide to perform this show at the Adelaide Fringe.
Yep.
And since then, she just keeps going from strength to strength. Now she's in Edinburgh performing her show there at the Fringe Festival. What is so cool, and we'll have to watch this space, right, is this started as a hobby for Nuri, and it is expanding to something so well beyond that, which is so exciting. This woman has just gone for it.
Yeah.
And what else could be so inspiring? It's so inspiring.
It is really, really cool, but I also get the impression with her that if this weren't a big thing, if it wasn't a big explosion, if the Edinburgh show wasn't a big hit, and all these things, I still think she'd still do it. She'd 100%. Still be down the Moth Club doing it, sharing her stories, and as she said, finding humanity in people and connecting with people. And that's the great thing about doing a hobby, that sometimes you can do something that happens to take off into something bigger, and sometimes you do it and it doesn't matter because you're still loving your hobby and you're enjoying it.
The Moth Live Storytelling
The Moth Live Storytelling Club.
No, the Moth Club is in East London.
No, the Moth Live Storytelling Club.
I don't know if club's part of it, but we'll go with it. Right, so, oh my God, Pete, you'll never believe this.
I won't.
I saw a horse yesterday and I thought of you.
Wow, these segues are amazing. Yeah, because that same episode, I talked about horse riding. Yes, horse riding. This is one we were talking about how some hobbies that you do in the past and then you sort of leave on the shelf for various reasons. Yeah. And the importance of don't feel guilty about that because, you still enjoyed it while you did it.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't do horse riding is because it costs a bomb.
Yeah.
Because since we talked about it, and I just remember, it was so cool, I loved it, that I am saving up my pennies to have a little day's horse riding.
Yeah, so exciting.
Which would be really, really nice, yeah.
What was the next episode we had, Pete?
The next episode was our special episode.
So
it was
cool.
The Psychology of Hobbies with Jordan Travers.
Yeah, so cool.
It was amazing. We had a great response to this. Loads of people just very, very fascinated by what Jordan had to say. And what I loved was that it kind of validated everything that we already knew about hobbies, that they are really cool and really helpful and really useful, but also just to have the sort of the medical evidence that it's not something that we just think kind of feels good. It really does make a big difference to your health.
Yeah, I loved that it was confirmation bias because it just reminded us that we are exceptional human beings.
We are wonderful.
We are.
Brilliant.
You and I, we're just... So, but I will also say to our listeners in this roundup episode.
This is you, the listener.
This was our first special guest, right? Season 1, we didn't have a special guest episode.
No.
Listeners, what are you interested in for season 3?
Yeah.
Special guest? What kind of a topic? Let us know.
What do you want to know about the world of hobbies?
What do you want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had Jordan. That was probably one of the highlights of my year.
Yeah.
And then we had Miranda talk about chainmail.
So cool. It was a good crafty one. She has recently been on the Lord of the Rings panel at Comic-Con. Speaking because of her Tolkien expertise, which is really cool. She's gone from strength to strength there.
And this is someone who, what she loved so much about her hobby was how niche it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is like a niche thing that maybe you're the only person that you know, like, you know, in your family and your friends who does it, but you still connect with other people through it.
Yeah.
There's always a way to connect with it. There is a chainmail community. There is a phone kiosk spotting community. There is actually a phone kiosk spotting community. Seriously.
Can you imagine? So she spent hours and hours, right? She was so passionate about making this chainmail vest.
A hobbit.
Yes.
Hobbock.
Sure. She was so passionate about making this, and then by the time she finished, it turned out it was too heavy for her to wear.
It was too heavy for it. Yeah. Well, it absolutely not. That is, but learning valuable skills along the way.
Yeah, so cool.
Nothing is wasted time.
No, of course not. And then you talked about one of your cool hobbies.
Speaking about wasting time, yes, it's cryptic crosswords.
Wow. Pete, we had a question come in from one of our listeners.
We did, yeah.
What is your favorite source? Where do you get your cryptic crosswords?
Well, most of the time I get them from the London Evening Standard.
Oh, sounds very professional.
Well, it is a free newspaper that you get in London on the train, and I happened to learn how to do cryptic crosswords with that. That was the crossword that I had.
Yeah.
And you sort of get used to how it's written. But I will also recommend, there's a website and an Instagram account called Minute Cryptic.
Minute Cryptic.
Yes, or Minute Cryptic.
Ooh.
Still the same spelling. And it is this lovely, lovely bloke with spectacular hair. You have to see it to believe it. And he gives a daily crossword clue, cryptic crossword clue. They're not too tricky, and he just takes you through exactly how it's done.
That's cool.
It's such a lovely way. So it's like, it's like a Wordle type thing. You know, you have so many guesses, and it's brilliant. So I highly recommend it. Yeah. And then we had salsa.
With Meg Possumi.
Really, really lovely.
Oh my god, that was such a fun episode.
It was great. It was nice to finally clear the air of any controversy.
Yes, I'm really glad that happened, because she's my pal and you're my pal, and that would have been super awkward for me.
It would have been terrible.
That episode, by the way, that was a big favorite among the moms.
Yes, my mum really loved that episode.
And my mum loved that episode.
Did your mum love that episode? That's what we want to know from you, listeners.
Let us know. So we talked to Meg about salsa. She wants to win a salsa competition, even if it's by the time she's in a nursing home.
Yes,
how cool! What a goal! And then Pete, you told us about your hobby.
Oh, yeah, watching horror movies.
Yeah.
So Kayla just asked me this question, and I answered it beautifully. And it was so beautiful, we thought we can't share it with you because it would just melt the internet. Speaking of melting, as one means of food molding together, our next episode was with Kelsey Mulvey and her hobby of cooking, which was so cool. It was great. It was adorable. And she talked about taking, what was it called? You know this off by heart.
So it transformed cooking for her, transformed a chore into a self-care moment.
Yes, I love it.
It was really cool. And it was really cool to hear her talk about all the things that she cooked and how her repertoire is expanding, how her skills expanding over time.
Yes.
And the crowd pleaser of her mom's going to a dinner party. So it was a really lovely episode.
It was. It was delightful.
And then, I talked about my hobby of basketball.
You talked about basketball.
Yes, which is very timely because as at the present time of recording, the Olympics are going on.
Yes.
Basketball is in the Olympics.
Is it?
It is.
I
saw
didn't
LeBron
know.
James this morning.
I haven't watched any of it this year.
Yeah. So Olympics are on now. I played basketball. Not the same thing. But the thing, and I think important to note for our audience, right? We talk about hobbies, Pete and I. We talk about hobbies, past and present. So basketball, really leaning on the past, right?
Yeah.
I played competitively as a teenager. And I think why I wanted to talk about it on the podcast is because hobbies could be any point in time. For a duration that's up to you. It's however you identify the hobby. So this is something I did in the past. I have no guilt about the fact that I put the ball back out on the court and left it there. I had a great time. And it's actually upon reflection, the things that I learned from my time while I was playing basketball are things that I've, taken with me throughout my life.
Marvellous.
Yeah.
Then we had our final episode, which was with Duncan Brown talking about beekeeping.
So nice.
We had more requests for a beekeeping episode than anything else. Yeah. Lots of love for the bees. It was great. Duncan was hilarious. Very, very interesting guy. That was... For me, because I when I'm editing these episodes, I found Duncan's one so hard to do because we try to keep them under about 25, around 20 minutes long. Yeah. And Duncan's record just had so much interesting stuff in it that I would happily have made that an hour and a half episode because it was so cool.
It was really nice.
It was really, really
It was also really cool, right? Because it was a hobby where there are so many other hobbies that like fit into that hobby.
Yeah.
So he also talked about like the history of it, right? And like there was like stuff about the history of like apiarying. But it being an apiarist.
That'll do.
Yep. And then also all the the byproducts of
the
it.
Wax making and like how the church has control of the wax and all that buys the most of it.
Eating the combs and all these kinds of things. So Mead. Oh yeah, so many things. So that was really cool. And he was great. And also my mom was really into it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Another hit with the moms. That's what matters to us.
Yeah.
And then you talked about hiking.
I did. I talked about my hobby of hiking, which is still an ongoing hobby and a very big passion of mine.
Yes.
Since the time of recording, I have been hiking.
Yes.
Both in the UK and in Switzerland.
You said that you were going to be hiking in Alps agnostic.
Pardon?
Alps agnostic. Yeah.
I am Alps agnostic. Yeah. Yes. So I was hiking in the Swiss Alps.
Cool.
Which is one of the Alps.
Yes, that's the one where it looks like a Toblerone because it's just all triangles. There's one. They're all the same shape and right behind each other.
Sure.
Thank you, Billy Connolly, for that joke.
So yes, that was hiking.
Yeah.
And that was the season, man.
That was absolutely awesome.
Holy cow.
It was a fantastic season. It really, really was.
One of the other call-outs that we had for this episode, we got some really cool questions come in from our listeners.
We did.
Let's tackle them. Question number 1.
Yeah.
Dear Pete and Kayla.
Hi.
Of the hobbies in this series, which one would you like to try?
Well, I think we know mine, which is, as I've already said, is storytelling.
Yeah.
Really excited me. It already kind of aligns with a lot of the stuff that I create at the moment as it is, but also I have started looking into the possibility of just getting a little beehive.
Cool.
Little beehive for down the bottom of the yard.
I love it.
So I don't know the logistics of it. It's not something I'm going to force.
Yeah.
But if it is possible and if it is practical,
because
as Duncan said, you've got to take it seriously. You're looking after living beings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Having a look at that. How about you?
I think unsurprisingly mine is ecstatic dance.
That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, my answer is short. Also, this is hot in here. That is one of them. Okay, another question.
Yeah. So Christian, hello Christian, he asked us, how did you and Kayla meet?
Well, Pete, what's our friendship origin story?
Our friendship origin story is that you used to work with my wife.
It's true.
Jess, the lovely Jess.
The wonderful Jess Falconer and I worked together many years ago and became really good pals. Yeah. And the whole time I kept hearing from her, oh my God, Kayla, you and my husband would be great pals.
Yes.
And then fast forward, it took quite a few years actually before we finally met.
It did. We finally met, and then
you guys came to one of my stand-up shows.
Yeah, we came to one of your stand-up shows, which is really, really cool. And so we hung out there and we were chatting, and then we
had like 2 hours before the show started,
and we were just chatting away, and we were both talking about how we both have so many hobbies,
and then podcast idea was born.
And we said, "Wow, we've got so many hobbies. Maybe we should do a podcast about doing our hobbies."
Yes.
Which then would be another hobby.
Yes.
Which somebody points out to me is the most ADHD thing they've ever heard in their life. And yeah.
And here we are. Season 2 recap episode. Yeah. Holy cow. Okay.
Amazing, yeah.
So, final question. Dear Pete and Kayla.
Yes.
What is the weirdest hobby you've come across?
Oh.
So, I would like to put a bit of a disclaimer before Pete shares some of his.
Okay.
I don't know if I find a hobby weird. Like, I don't want to yuck anyone else's yums.
I agree. I don't think weird is the word. I think weird as in niche, as in like, not weird as in, why the hell are you doing that?
Okay, so that's how you're choosing to interpret
I'm
the question.
saying weird, yeah. Not weird in a pejorative sense, yeah.
Okay, so Pete, you go first, because I need to think about mine.
I went on Reddit.
Yeah, the rabbit hole of Reddit.
I went on rabbit hole and I did a little bit of research of some odd, slightly off the wall hobbies. I'm just going to throw them at you, see what you think. Pen spinning.
Cool.
Which, I mean, you Google pen spinning, it's amazing. People just doing like these tricks with pens on their hands, a bit like,
Oh, it's not on a table.
No, it's like baton twirling and stuff like that. But you do it, and like people are doing like really, really cool stuff.
That's cool.
We've also got, I found a chap who breeds poison dart frogs.
Wow.
We've got Scrimshaw.
You're going to say screenplay editing, and I was like,
screenplay critiquing. What weirdo would do that?
Our wonderful friend Melissa Kent.
That would be Melissa Kent, screenplay critiquing. Check her out, series 1.
Check her out, season 1.
Not Scrimshaw, which is carving art, but specifically into bones, which is quite cool.
Wow.
And I'll give you one more, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Dorodango, which is the Japanese art of polishing mud.
Wow.
And
if you polish mud,
then
doesn't it disappear?
No, people like they like compact dirt and mud and different things like that, and then polish it up into different like little ornaments, and it's really beautiful. It's
cool.
lovely. Yeah,
I haven't seen that. Maybe we'll have to
put up a picture now.
All right, Pete, I like all your answers. Do you know what?
What?
I don't know what I think the most niche hobby is that I've come across. I was posting some stuff on Instagram last night. Someone builds little worlds from coral.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Oh my God. I saw someone on Instagram. This person essentially has created their own category of competitive ironing.
Competitive ironing?
Yeah, so they're ironing things like in all these different places, on a moving train, underwater, which I guess, how could you actually be ironing? So obviously the iron's not on, but what a cool thing. So that's probably the most niche.
That is awesome. Now, you see, many years ago, I worked in Waterstones on Piccadilly, and one of the books that we had come in one year was the Extreme Ironing Calendar.
Oh my God, it's a real thing.
Yeah, it is a real thing.
Wow.
Yeah. I think that is very cool. Extreme ironing. If there are any extreme ironers out there, get in touch. We'd love to talk to you.
So one other question that I have, which is actually for me, not one of our guests.
Oh.
Pete.
Yes.
I hear you went to a really cool hobby fair recently.
I did.
Tell us about this hobby fair.
So it's not specifically a hobby fair. It's actually, technically it's an art installation, and it's called Come As You Really Are, and it is by the artist Hiten Patel, and he has done this in collaboration with Art Angel, supported by Art Angel, and it is basically a huge exhibition of things that people have collected or created or modified through their hobby. So there were lots of there was a typewriter collection, there were like model car collections, what would there was a huge My Little Pony collection.
Awesome.
And then there were things like there was like quilt making.
What would you say were your biggest takeaways from going to this?
Well, there's two things. The ethos behind the whole thing, the drive behind it was to show, it's called Come As You Really Are, because people are themselves when they're doing their hobby.
Yeah.
They are not doing it for anybody else. They're just doing their own thing in their own way. It's absolutely brilliant. It's really, really cool. And the other thing I thought was interesting, we sometimes think of our hobbies as like silly little things that we do just to pass away the time, blah, 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 blah. But they're really important, as we know from the episode with Jordan, but also there were quite a few things. There was one like a sort of cross-stitch tapestry that was all done with different things in response to COVID and the lockdown. And sometimes, like, your little hobby that you connect with and you deal with, that's your way of expressing yourself and making sense of the world. Wow. Even if it's only you that sees it, it's how you sort these things out in your head. And this is why, the arts and crafts are so important.
Yeah.
But it was just really, really cool. But it is touring around the UK.
So we'll put that in the show notes.
We will put it in the show notes. We're going to try and get hold of Hiten Patel to try and have a chat with him. That would be really, really awesome. Cool. I may put up a video on Instagram as well of some of the things that I saw there. But it's touring around the UK, which is very important to me. I gather that in every stop, it will be slightly different exhibits, depending on where they are and who they've got locally to bring in, which I think is wonderful.
So with that, Pete, we're starting to plan season 3. Yeah. Right? We're thinking about season 3. We're thinking about the people we want to have on as guests for season 3. We're also thinking about the special episodes that we want to do for season 3. Mm-hmm. So, dear listeners, Instagram us, email us, let us know, call us, text us, let us know, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. Nope. Okay.
No, it's another one.
Impossible. Great cartoon. Anyway, let us know what you're interested in. Yeah, cool.
Excellent. Tell us about your hobbies. Tell us about any of the hobbies that we've covered this season. Have you taken any of them up?
Yes.
Do you do them yourselves?
Yes.
Very, very exciting stuff.
Any final comments before we send our listeners out on their merry way?
I think I would want to say that whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's brilliant. There are so many. The more of these hobbies we find to try and get on the podcast, the more we realise, Christ, there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I have felt so inspired by the people that we've had on the podcast this season, and so inspired by all of our listeners and all of their lovely messages in. So thank you. Please keep them coming.
Yeah.
On behalf of Pete and I, thank you so much for joining us this season.
Yes, indeed.
We cannot wait to share all the cool stuff we have cooked up for season 3.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for listening and for watching as well, those of you who are here on YouTube. But please, a couple of things that you can do for us. Follow us on Instagram and also please sign up to our newsletter.
Yes.
And then you'll find out when Series 3 will be coming out
Yes.
and get some bonus behind the scenes stuff. And the other thing is, if you could just tell somebody about this podcast. Just tell one person if you can, because word of mouth still the best way of getting a little DIY podcast like this spread around.
Yes.
It's all lovely.
And with that,
yes,
we will say
Toodles!
How I Hobby was written and produced by Kayla Lean and Pete Falconer, with music and editing by Pete Falconer, artwork by Laura Walsh, and animation by Kayla Lean. If you'd like to be featured on the show, email us at howihobby@gmail.com, follow us on Instagram at howihobby, or sign up to our mailing list at howihobby.com.